I'm Blondie Chaplin.
Rusty Paul.
Glenn Schneider.
Gimme Guitar.
You can be the possibility of the human race. Whoa, brother, can't you see I'm reaching out to you? Do you feel me? Mother, can't you see that I've been crying out for you? Do you hear me? Lover, can't you see that they're leaving it up to you? Do you believe it? Just breathe it.
I'm obsessed with the guitar. The coolest sounding instrument and the coolest looking instrument, and
look at this thing. It's cool. It's cool.
Man, you could be here for several lifetimes and still not master this instrument. You may master a little piece of or a genre, right? But because you're a great rock player, doesn't mean you can play flamenco, or I've seen guys who are really, really good blues, jazz players, and you put them in a regular situation to play something really simple, and they're lost.
Look at this thing. It's wood, and it fits in your hand like a beautiful woman.
That's not what I was thinking of.
That's right. You weren't thinking that. If you
I was thinking of something
you're allowed to think that
completely
too. It's not going to make me think any less of you. And there's metal things on it that you smash your fingers. It's not natural to be doing this, but it feels so cool, man. Look at that, so cool.
I mean, just look at the thing. It just makes you want to touch it and hold it,
And lick it.
That'll be enough.
Cut.
Good night.
You just strum a chord. It just resonates, and you play this guitar and I can feel the vibrations go through my body, and then it's like coming back out of me as I'm singing and playing it, and it just has such a beautiful energy and vibration.
With a guitar, you can cover the rhythm, the harmony, and the melody if you need to. So it's just a well-packaged thing,
So it's just trying to do
those things. And you could spend your lifetime in just doing that. But of course, it's very beautiful to play.
You put it around your neck, and it's part of you. You could be jumping around on stage, doing whatever you want to do, banging your head, and it's like another arm or something. It's crazy. It's just, you know, once you get in tune with it and you get a good tone and you're rocking out in front of people, it's just, that or it feels like a machine gun, you know? It's just kind of like, you could do like machine gun riffs, and it's such a powerful feeling. It really is.
It kind of just makes you feel good. I don't know why. I have no idea why.
You can play classical, you can play rock, you can play jazz, you can play folk, and anyone can play it. It's accessible. I mean, you can learn 3 chords and you're done. You can play thousands of songs.
Just that feeling in your heart. You know, that feeling that you had when you first heard All Right Now by Free, or when you heard Start Me Up. It's just that feeling in your heart that you're happy and it's powerful and it's just cool.
It's relatively easy to learn, you know, as opposed to like a violin.
And swing it around and crank it up and just hit one chord and have it drive people insane. So yeah, there's a coolness factor to guitar.
You learn 2 or 3 chords and you can enjoy yourself and really get in touch with yourself a little more, I think.
We have about 38 guitars. Don't tell anyone our address.
You can give like 10 different guys the same song to play. It's going to sound 10 different ways. Whereas I find on a piano or something like that, you play middle C, it's middle C, right? The guitar, you play it C, you know, like in 3 different positions, the same note, and it sounds different each time. This little nuances that each player brings to it that makes it very unique.
When you have 20 guitars, you're always in this state where you're like, when was the last time I changed strings on that? Is it gonna break? Hopefully this won't happen today.
Pick it up and, you know, you feel what it feels like to just bend a note, you know, or play fast. It's such a great feeling, you know. If you're playing fast, it feels like you're driving a car super fast, you know. You bend the note, it just feels like you're screaming at the top of your lungs, you know. I think it's the most expressive instrument, and once you get hooked on it, you just can't put it down.
It obviously makes you cool.
Well,
Just look at it.
I like the sound of it mainly. I mean, cool is one thing, but I don't know cool that well anyway, so.
I see that.
I love to hear a guitar just strummed.
I love playing guitar because it lets me be creative. You know, if you look at a Pete Townsend or a Jimi Hendrix or a Chuck Berry, and they're hopping around and they're doing their duck walk and they're having a whole lot of fun. You know, it's something you can grab onto.
Sounds so expressive. You can play things on a guitar that sings like many other instruments can't. It has a warmth to it, especially nylon string guitar, a suppleness to the sound that can be modified in many, many different ways, especially with the right hand technique. The vibrato, from really bright and nasal and powerful to soft and lilting and singing.
The Italian craftsmen years ago, you know, supposedly modeled the cutaways and the shape around the Rubenesque woman. I don't think it's so overt on a sexual level, but it is embraceable. It is something you can kind of wrap around in a very tactile way that not every instrument offers that.
I feel like when I strum it, I just feel like it just pops out, you know, it comes alive. I can feel it vibrating against my body. I feel like it helps me. It writes the songs with me and for me almost.
The sonic force that comes out of it and vibrates the better parts of your body.
Now that's interesting because hollow body, solid body, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I've never really been much of an acoustic player, although I do play it.
Yeah.
But it's a different vibration with this than it is with this. This is about the amplifier, you know?
Yeah.
It really vibrates.
The way it hangs off a body, and it's like
it's a main focus. It's at the front. It's upstaging you all the time, the guitar.
It just has a reverberation, it has life, nothing like wood, real wood. And in fact, I think, yeah, it still smells like real wood.
Even though you have, we've got frets, which kind of determines the pitch. I mean, there's so many other variables that also determine pitch, right? Like, bending, finger pressure. I use a whammy bar, so the guitar has, so far as a stringed instrument, it has this ability to kind of meander in and out of the set scale, so to speak.
That's one of the greatest things about guitar is that it's totally endless. It's like you're never gonna know everything. That's just absolutely impossible.
We've had a long life together. We've written many, many nice songs together. It's sort of like a companion at this point.
In the years working with this instrument, I think that I found out that it really is something special for me. So the approach to it, it's not loud, it's not crying. The classical guitar is not a loud instrument, but it's a very subtle thing, and you form the sound, and you do different things, and it's such a huge world that opens. It's a cosmos that opens up as soon as you touch it, and. Of course, you could say you can do it with a piano, you can do it with an orchestra, you can do it with a trumpet or something. But for me, it's the guitar.
It's all about guitar for me. It's any kind of guitar. I'm not the hugest fan of classical, but anything, country, western, jazz, bluegrass, fusion, anything. If it's a guitar, I'm just it just blocks everything out. I'm just totally focused on it.
Well, I see you every morning, every afternoon, walking yourself, baby, home from school. Won't you walk with me, baby? Won't you talk with me, baby? Won't you walk with me, talk with me? Honey, honey, all the way home.
It's a wicked instrument. I mean, Dad spent, up till 94 and a half when he passed away, and he still said that I haven't conquered the whole instrument. Now, that's pretty rough when he was one of the major shredders back in the days.
I just love to play the guitar.
I love watching him play guitar.
If you could just live with it like I get to. This is what I would be doing at home. Anyway, I'd be thinking about what do I sound like? What am I doing? Where's my hand? You gotta, to keep on top of it. It's certainly an occupation. But it doesn't seem, for me, it's not work to me. Other people, it's really hard. They'd rather be at a computer, or because they can really excel at that.
Every performance is new. Even if you're performing the same song over and over, which I have done for 30 years, it always is a little different and never the same. And that keeps my interest.
The vintage guitar nuts will find a guitar store wherever it is, and they'll screech to a halt to go into the guitar store.
This is what I exist as. It's like, that is me. If I don't feel good, it doesn't sound good. If I don't pay attention to it, it sounds like I didn't pay attention to it. And it's like, what are you doing there? And I guess I'm hard on myself that way. But I think playing in New York kind of does that to you.
No, I've been staying away. I've been laying low. Oh, I've been wondering why you had to go. Won't you call me, babe?
And a friend of mine has a theory. It's like at some point you become a lifer. You know, at some point you know that this is not going to end. It's not like you're going to do it for this summer or this year, or that it's a passing fad. You know, you're just going to be doing it.
When you want to talk, I need you to know you're all I got. No, I've been laying low. I've been laying low. I've been wondering why you had to go. Won't you call me? When you want to talk, I need you to know you're all I got.
Once you get the ball rolling, there's no sense in stopping if it's working, you know?
I can just already imagine how good I'm going to be when I'm 75. You know, if I can get past the cigarettes and stuff.
I'm glad nobody ever kind of took me aside and said, why don't you take up bowling, you know? That might be a better choice.
You can get that rush of rock and roll that nothing else has. And this is the tool. This is the medium. This is the magic wand that sucks it in or enables you to endow it on other people.
Just doing my homework, trying to trace back everybody's influences, and I found that a lot of the shredders that I was into also listened to a lot of classical guitar playing and flamenco.
I hear it, I just, you know, it frees me. I want to get up out of my seat and just, you know, just go make something happen.
I'm obsessed with the guitar. You know, I think like most people, I think from my generation in the early 80s, being a young kid, there were so many great guitar players during that time, and it was the coolest sounding instrument and the coolest looking instrument, and that's just stuck with me.
See, the ear and the passion, that's all you need, right? The ear to hear it, and then the passion to play it until you get it right.
You know, it helps to be born with the ear.
Yeah, you need the ear.
You can have all the, there's plenty of guys out there with passion that don't have an ear.
Yeah, but some people quit.
Not enough.
I get up here and I play, and it's just like I go somewhere else, you know?
Really appreciate it the same way that I did when I started playing when I was 8 years old. I still have that same passion and love for it when I was a little kid, which kind of trips me out because, you know, what does an 8-year-old kid know? You know, and sometimes I feel like, you know, I haven't grown up because I'm still just obsessed with playing guitar.
They're also beautiful. The having something, you know, old guitars, holding an old guitar, there's a lot of history there, and there's a lot of, you know, acousticity that's evident in fine musical instruments, and to be able to be close to that is a really good thing.
I can't even count the number of times I picked up my guitar feeling not so good and put it down feeling great, you know? It really has that, it has that potential to move energy, to release things, to figure things out. Even if you have something you're trying to figure out, like a lot of times I'll be writing a song and it's kind of like working through some shit, you know, you're working through it, and then by the end it's like, oh, I figured it out, and you came out the other side, the other end of the tunnel, you know, and It's funny because a lot of my songs will switch at the end of the song. It's like, oh, kind of like a revelation or something.
It's a real humbling experience that the more you know, the more you don't know. And I thoroughly enjoy learning things about the guitar and playing music.
I think because I like to play. I like playing with these guys whenever I'm here. We don't play that often, but I love playing with Fig and Keith and Steve Barber. We just pretty much play straight ahead songs, and I try and sing as good as I can, but it's this passion of just keeping, I love to do it, so just keep it going, you know? I love playing rhythmic solos and rely on a lot of feel. Like I said, I'm no Van Halen or anything, but I just like playing with a lot of feel. And my stuff requires a lot of rhythm.
I think Bob Marley said one good thing about music: when it hits, you feel no pain. And we talked about that. We were, well, yes, actually music can hurt you.
Less is better, even if you just play like one note per measure, like ba-dum, dum, bum, 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 bum. That's what you need, space with reggae.
I had a friend of mine that was really supportive of really into African music and had given me a field recording of one lone guitarist, a South African guitarist. The style of music is called Maskanda, and the guitarists are called Maskandis. It's the music from the mines, or it's the guitar music from the mines. And I heard this one guitarist, it was just a lone guitarist playing and singing, and I was just floored. Again, I was stultified. I just had to know, and after that, I had to know everything about what I was hearing. Anything that was South African and Zulu, I wanted to know about, and I wanted to soak up. And that, at one point, my tutor, she said to me, if you're really going to do this, you need to go over. And so I did. I left that lesson session and went home and came home, looked at my wife and said, I'm going to go to South Africa. She said, okay, how long are you going to be gone?
If you don't have passion for it, then you're never going to get to the next level in your playing. You have to put a lot of time in, so you got to love what you do.
I love to keep music going like 24/7 and always hearing music. It's never a bad thing for me to hear music. People say, oh, my ears need a break. My ears need a break? For what? What do you want to hear? Silence?
I started to play guitar when I was 12. I went to music school and I learned guitar. I learned classical guitar. As I remember, just as I went to school, I did some exercises, and it didn't interest me very much in the beginning. My mother wanted me to play guitar because I had actually wanted to learn the trumpet. And my mother said, trumpet is too loud. And then I said, okay, so I go for the accordion. And my mother said, it's too heavy.
I played accordion for a while, but boy, accordion players don't get invited to parties and they don't pick up chicks. So I immediately gravitated to guitar, and sort of secondarily, I also played bass guitar.
If you go up on a mountain, you find a guitar in every hut on the mountain. And that's what my mother thought would be the thing, so playing guitar a little bit. And so I went to music school, and soon I recognized it's completely different. It's not playing just folk songs.
I never played the guitar. I used to always play the broom, and so she got me some lessons to figure out what to do.
I was born in Jamaica. Both my parents were musical. My dad was a choir director, church organist. My mom was playing harmonicas as long as I can remember.
The guitar becomes like my best friend, and everywhere I would bring it to school, I'd bring it to the grocery store, you know. I would always I would get suspended from school from the day because I'd bring the guitar but not the books.
The drummer from Toots and the Maytals who lived in Toronto asked me if I wanted to fill in for a guy that couldn't make this gig. And I was, somewhat reluctant because I said, hey, I don't know a lot of reggae songs, what am I gonna do? And he says, don't worry about it, man, it's in your blood,
First song I heard was You Know My Name, Look Up My Number, which is the B-side of Let It Be. So I was, say, 3 years old when that came out, and I remember looking at they had this speaker up on the ceiling because they didn't want it to get knocked over, so they hung it on the wall way up because the kids wouldn't mess with it. So the record player, it was like, I'm looking up at the speaker way up there, and it was like the best thing in the world was coming out of it. Made me feel like nothing else ever until that point, And the song, You Know My Name, Look Up My Number, and the solo from Let It Be. Do, 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 do. That guitar sound of that distortion. The whole thing just sent, chills, I guess. And it just seemed like that was a good thing to do.
And I went to college when I was 17. And that's when, I first got involved with playing guitars. That's also the first time I ever left home. It's the first time I ever smoked cigarettes. That's the first time I ever, drank anything. And that's when I started playing guitars because everybody around me had guitars.
I went into my friend's attic. His mother had a guitar up there, or a guitar case. I opened it up and I went like this. And I went, whoa. And I haven't stopped since.
My brother took lessons. I would sit here and watch him, and he actually taught me my first couple chords that I always, just always remember. It was like, you got to remember how to do them. You can't think of them as you're doing, you have to know. So he taught me a D chord. And learning how to hold down all that at the same time, it was like work, but it wasn't like any other kind of work that I wasn't thinking about anything else while I was doing it. There's work that you do that you'd rather be doing guitar when you're doing it. And I wasn't thinking of anything else. This was it, So you concentrate on that. Then he's like, well, you learn a chord a day. In a couple of weeks, you'll know basically all the chords you need. So that seemed like a pretty easy way to look at it, So I can do that. I just learned this one in like 8 seconds. I can learn a chord a day, But it's a little harder than that. But you learn how to switch. Don't stop until you learn that chord. Until you learn the next chord, and whatever's necessary to just make it sound good. So, but then you don't know why you're learning chords. You're like, oh well, I must want to play a song or something. So you're like, well, what song do you like? And then you figure out what that was. And was like, well, I like Frankenstein. Well, how do you play that on a guitar with no,
When I picked up the guitar, it was so obvious that with no training, I knew immediately that it was my calling.
Kind of behind the ball. I was 17 when I started, and I used to think it was done. Everybody else already could play, and I'd never quite catch up. So I was always playing with people who were slightly better than me. And, that when you're that young, sometimes that's playing with your heroes,
So you learn one song, and then you learn another one, then you learn another one, and you just build it up, and then it feels like it's like almost catching fish or something. Like you got this now, like I'm taking it, and I can stand on my own and play these things without anybody's help, And I think that comes just from being when you're a little kid, you just want to do stuff on your own anyway. So at one point you make a decision that I'm gonna lock myself in my room with the guitar to learn how to play. If somebody happens to tell you, oh, Eric Clapton just locked himself in his room with his guitar. Listen to him. He plays good. So that's probably one of the ingredients of learning how to play. You have to concentrate on it and spend a lot of time with it.
My old man had a soul food restaurant when I was growing up in my hometown, and he had me and my brother working in there. You know, I would stock the sodas when they were delivering them, because they didn't have soda machines in them days, you know. And then my job was to take the sodas and deliver them to all the bars in the neighborhood. So this one bar is called Max's. So I deliver the sodas. He says, bring them to the back. And I hear this guy like tuning his guitar up, man. And he had like a harmonica like Bob Dylan, you know. And he was making his fingers like this on the guitar, and I never saw that, you know. And I went over to him, I put the sodas down. I went over to him, I says, what is that? And he says, oh, this is a barcode. We call it a barcode, you know. Keith Richards uses a lot of barcodes, you know. And so he put my fingers on his guitar, and then I went like that, and I ran home all the way with my hands like that to try it on my guitar. I forgot about my old man's restaurant. I forgot about the sodas. It turns out he was Jimmy Reed. He was playing there for the weekend, you know. And I'll never forget that, man. He was such a nice guy, you know.
I grew up in a very eclectic kind of family. My parents are South African, and I grew up here in the Hamptons, and the people who would come around, you know, would often be from different parts of the world. And so they met Baba Olatunji, and he became my godfather. And yeah, he was a very well-known African drummer. He was one of the very first to bring African music to the West. He came over here in like 1959 and released Drums of Passion on Columbia Records. It was like just the epitomal African album, you know. And even Santana covered his song, Jingo Ba, and he used to open for the Grateful Dead, and he played at JFK's inauguration. So he was very, you know, very well known.
It started when I was like 9. I remember deciding, and I was never gonna let myself down, that I'm gonna be in a band. I'm gonna learn how to play the guitar. I don't know now, but I'm gonna learn how to do it, because I guess, and then you have cousins or siblings that say, you'll never do that. Maybe they didn't really mean it, but you kind of, they didn't mean to be hurtful, but could have been true, but it's not in this case, you know. I did learn. And not necessarily to prove them wrong, but kind of.
And he said, wow, I can make that cool sound with just one finger.
I learned some songs in Africa when I was there studying, and I would take those songs and then play them on the guitar instead of the drum, which made for another kind of sound.
Nafisa, mobere kanula fisa ne bora bolola. Nafisa, mobere kanula fisa ne bora bolola. Sanu baratunu ne ma, Johnny yote la ne ma.
I started on piano, and you know, I went to Catholic school, and you know, I learned my piano, or else I got my knuckles beat in by some old nun. And then you know, a couple of kids from school started. I saw that they were playing guitar. One was playing guitar, one was playing bass, and I was over at the guy's house. He had a guitar, and I just found it really easy to pick up and start kind of playing stuff that I'd heard on the radio. Nothing like, you know, note for note.
I remember saying, like, oh, I've been playing for 5 years. Now it's 35 years, you know? And I remember people who were playing 15 when I was that, and I thought that was a long time, you know? I'm like, wow, I wasn't even 15 yet.
happy just to keep you, make you my wife. Glad I found you, glad I found you.
Reggae chose me. I really didn't choose reggae. I was actually in New York City listening to an AM radio station, and Bob Marley came on, and that was about it. So that sold me. When I heard that going on, that was it for me, for reggae. And because I spent my summers growing up on Long Beach Island, reggae just seemed like a real nice fit. My brother and I and our cousin and a good friend, we put together the band and immediately had work because in 1983, reggae was evolving as a new genre in the American market.
I think I kind of picked up a guitar that was in the house. My brother was at college and he played guitar before me. His old guitar was laying in the corner, leaned up against the wall or something, and I think I was about 13 years old, 7th or 8th grade, and just, I'd mess with it a little bit. There was a couple of books in the house, like, you had a couple of chords, you start looking at the book and you're like, that kind of thing, and really not much has changed for me. That's still sort of where I'm at. Girl, you'll love me someday. I said, girl, you'll love me someday. Maybe not now, but you'll come around. Girl, you'll love me someday. Girl, you'll love me someday. I said, girl, you'll love me someday. Well, just wait and see, we were meant to be. Girl, you'll love me someday.
My dad used to play banjo, so it probably influenced me a little bit. But a couple of guys in Durban, South Africa, just showed me a couple of things, and I just picked it up from by ear, listening to the radio. We didn't have TV in those days, so I had to listen to the radio just about non-stop until I had to leave school because I was somewhere else. School wasn't it at the time.
My dad bought me a guitar when I was 12, bought me a cheap nylon string and a Mel Bay book. I taught myself a few chords. This guitar is a Gibson model called the Melody Maker. This particular one is from 1967. I'm probably like on the level of like a weekend warrior type of player, except I probably have a lot more musical knowledge than that guy.
You can get pretty good on a guitar self-taught in a folk process, or you could take it all the way out and become like a master.
She's a lethal weapon. She's a lethal weapon. Lethal weapon. Lethal weapon. She's a lethal weapon. She's a lethal weapon. Lethal weapon. Lethal weapon. She's got long legs. She's got what it takes. She's hot to the touch. I love her so much, but she's dangerous. Yeah, but she's dangerous. She no fight, no fuss. She ridiculous. She's hot to the touch. I love her so much, but she's dangerous. Yeah, but she's dangerous.
The rhythm guitarist in my band, he's playing this kind of thing. And I'm playing this kind of thing.
She's a lethal weapon, lethal weapon, lethal weapon.
I'm still working on it. I'm never happy with my technique, and it really aggravates me. And I've broken guitars, and it's just a lot of hard work. There's really no other way around it. You'll get that feeling all the time of, yeah, I got that riff, or I got this and that, and then you'll have days where you're like, man, I suck. It's like, it's this like push and pull thing, where it's like, 1 minute you're on top of the world about your playing, and then you'll see a video of yourself playing or something, and you're not happy about a certain technique that you did, or you might have hit a bum note, and then you're back from square one again, and you're miserable. So it's just It's like you're up and then you're down. You hear someone really digging in and bending the notes. It just has such an effect on the audience, you know? I mean, you're making the guitar sing. That's how a singer would sing. They would bend into a note. They would, you know, put expression into it.
Actually, Jeff King came down to see me play, and he kept going like this to me. And I didn't know what he meant. See, I would play, and Jeff would go, and I went, and he went, yeah. So to take that bend even higher.
I like to just warm up, get my pick hand going, just run through scales like that.
They say it takes 10,000 hours to become a master at something.
For the show, I like to stretch a lot and just practice. You know, I really believe the longer I have a guitar in my hand before I go on stage, the better I'm gonna play. I've seen it happen so many times where, you know, I'll get to play 2 hours before a show and I'm just ripping and wailing, and then I go on stage and I have like the greatest show. And then I've had shows where, you know, we're flying from one place to the other in some weird country, and, you know, hit horrible turbulence, and, you know, it's like a catastrophe trying to get to the show, and you pull up and you go on stage, and, you know, it's not always the best show because you're not really warmed up. So I really like to spend a lot of time with a guitar in my hand and just be as warmed up as possible. It just makes for a good show.
When you play after a certain amount of time, you realize that it's not just strumming, and you get to use your other hand and actually pick out notes like kind of like a piano in a way. And using all your fingers is definitely key. If you had another finger, you'd use it.
For me, the most important thing about being a guitarist in whatever genre you play is to be musical in your approach. A lot of people sat in with our band and they're great musicians, but maybe not such good listeners. So it's real important as a musician to listen to the other players and blend with them.
When you're playing live, there's a lot more forgiveness because the moments just kind of go by. And it's about the whole experience. I feel like as a recording artist, I do have to practice more to keep my skills very precise.
Just being a cleaner player and playing notes right and crisp, putting the right note at the right spot, not being sloppy, things like that.
And maybe just hanging out and jamming. Put the pick down, go into something a little bit more flamenco, classical.
So at the end of the day, you know, just nice to kind of just chill out and strum, and you never know when you're going to get that great song idea. And so if you don't show up at your instrument every day, you might just miss it.
I'm convinced that you need a good, clean platform to have a good distorted tone, because basically it's almost like looking through a dirty window at a beautiful bouquet of flowers.
It's your voice kind of coming out. You know, some people's voice is just like you know, like that's a certain kind of like feeling you're trying to get out. So it's got to come. You have the feeling, it comes through your hand and it comes out of a speaker. So you want this rock and roll feeling, you're like. Right? But then like, if the guitar sounds like this, That's no good, right? So you want it to sound like a balanced dish of food or something, you know, like it has to be, like it can't be all the ketchup on one side and you can't have all the shit. It's like, that's the way I look at it. I don't really hear it as like, I know how to move the knobs and everything, but it's more or less of a, does it hit you right here? You know, it can't just hit you over here or like just wing you and nip you on the ear. You know, it's got to actually be your whole thing coming out. If I don't like it, how's anybody else gonna like it? So you try and go with your own, like you're cooking food for people. You kind of put your own taste into it, but you hope that they kind of share in that taste.
If I'm playing rhythm parts, like with reggae, if I'm picking along, I want to have a tone that I can track along with the bass player, but it won't be muddied, either by, you know, crossing over into his frequencies or by him dominating me.
You know, I got two generations of Keith here. I got the Fenders that he played, and I got the Ampeg from the early '70s. So it's definitely a work in progress. I mean, trying to get that tone is, you know, you think you have it one night, and then you're on your way home, and you throw on a Stone CD, and this tone comes out. You're like, oh, I'm not even close, man. I'm not even close.
And I've changed the wiring so that the tone pot is no longer a tone pot, but a blender, which blends either the rear, you know, or the bridge rather, or the neck pickup, depending on what I've got selected on the 5-way switch.
He's just trying to avoid the evil eye from me.
Yeah.
Hey, where's that sound you're supposed to have?
Right. I spend a lot of time when I'm recording to use different mics and mic settings and stuff like that. But I like it to sound pleasant to the ear, you know? I mean, tone is really important to me, so I really like to spend a lot of time dialing my tone in.
Tone sort of changed in the 60s from a clean guitar tone to an overdriven tone. So what I wanted to do was get my amplifier to give me some sounds that it had not been made to do. You know, the funny thing is, here's an old, 50-some-odd engineer asking me why in God's name I wanted to make an amp distort, because he spent his entire life trying to make things not distort.
I'm a big fan of guitar, cable, amp.
Frankenstrat, they call it. You know, it's a custom-built Strat just the way I want it. And it's kind of, I mean, it's nice. It can sound jazzy. Or it can sound kind of, you know. It's got that sound too, you know, it just.
Give me a little country now.
That was a little country.
I've seen a lot of guys use a lot of pedals and have an incredibly horrible sound. And then there are those guys that know how to get a specific sound with each one.
I started to look at ways to make amps do things that they didn't do. The simplest thing I did was I took the 2 channels of a Fender Bassman and I connected the first channel's output to the second channel's input. And what I ended up with was an unbelievably large amount of gain, almost to the point that I couldn't control it. But I had all of this sustain and distortion, and I didn't have to turn the amp up to do it. So I was kind of on a pathway that I later found that guys like Howard Dumble and Randall Smith of Mesa Boogie had stumbled across in their own garages or basements.
The subtleness of the sound of the guitar is something that fascinates me all the time. So I'm not so much interested in the loud things. I'm not so much interested in playing rock riffs, but I'm more interested in doing the fine sounds. And this is something the guitar, of course, is capable to do very well. And there are many things to discover and many things to do.
I wanted to harness some of that feeling that I got when I saw music live. And I have to say, it's even better when you're playing the guitar.
You first, Songblood, you first.
It's an incredibly powerful, powerful form, playing live and audience participation. And I can't define it. I really can't. That's the closest I can.
I spent a lot of time in the studio, an awful lot of time in the studio by myself, writing and composing. But when I get on stage, it's a whole different animal. You know, you can't lie. And if you just trust it, if you just go with it, it's magic.
I linked up with Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And last summer we played a party at their house and he sat in with us and it was just amazing. I have never played with someone with so much energy. I mean, that dude, he's just super solid and creative and so much fun to play with, you know?
I always wanted to do it in front of people. There was no question about that. There was no other reason to do it. It wasn't gonna be a hobby. That's always what I thought.
Don't like getting to a gig early. Just do not. We'll pull in. The Shadubis have been there since 6 o'clock. We pull in at 10:30 for a gig at 11.
You load up your car, you go to the gig, you set everything up, and then you start playing. And then like in 2 seconds, 4 hours is over and you're tearing everything down and you're putting it back in the car, right? It's like the time where you're playing music always is just like a blink. It just goes by that's why you're having a good time. I mean, time flies when you're having fun.
You go up there and you're so sad or you're so distraught and you're thinking, how am I gonna get through? And that performance changes you and it changes your energy and it's just what you need.
There's your room practice where you don't have to be interacting with people, but then you have to know better when there's people there that you're being seen now. So do something worthwhile being seen. So that's why you practice.
Played shows in front of 70,000, 80,000 people, these big festivals we'll do in Europe or wherever we are. And you really, you know the crowd's there and it's amazing feeling to know that many people are there, but you still gotta approach it like you're just in your bedroom playing. Because if you really let that get into your mindset, that's when you start making mistakes.
I walk around in circles and angst and drink too much coffee and say to myself, I don't want to go. I don't want to work tonight. I can't stand doing this anymore. I've been doing this for 35 years. I'm exhausted. Then I get there, I curse at my wires, I curse at my pedals, I curse at my amps. I scream and curse, and then I get set up. And then all of a sudden it's like,
When I start playing on any given Friday and I go into my solo, I can hear the voices of people say, sounds like Jerry Garcia. Like that's what you hear. That's what I hear within the first 5 people. And I guess that's what I'm looking for, because I like it. So I like to hear it and I like to do it.
Keep yourself healthy, keep your energy going. Don't get ripped in the gig and have a good attitude, Because all these things show in what music comes out. It's got nothing to do with how well you played, how well the band played. It's actually a lot more than that.
I've done solos where the guy stood up and started clapping and said, "That sucked!"
It's mostly the music. To play local bars and everything, you don't make any money doing that. That's just strictly to keep your head straight, get ideas, work them out.
Some people can just go and wing it, and I don't feel comfortable doing that. I'd rather just have it really solid and then be able to wing things on top of the foundation at a gig.
We opened up for Black Sabbath with Ozzy, the original lineup, and that was one of my career highlights, was to watch them every single night for like a month on tour.
Playing at the Marquee in London was very cool. We opened for Johnny Rotten and the band live.
This summer we played with Megadeth, a bunch of festivals with them, and played with Slayer.
I guess our biggest American gig was opening for Squeeze at the Old Ritz.
We get ready to go to Brazil to open up for Iron Maiden. We're doing a show soon, so I'm really excited about that.
A lot of great gigs. We had a good booking agent.
My brother and I were in a blues band, and we got to open for Howlin' Wolf for 2 nights and meet those guys, which was something I'll never forget.
Hubert Sumlin came in there on a Sunday, a couple different Sundays, and a couple times I got to play with him. Not every time. There was, other people also, but I got to play with Hubert.
We jammed at the Whaling Museum in Sag Harbor, and Jimmy Buffett came up, and we were doing some cool old Rolling Stone songs. And
whenever I come in New York, I'll try and do stuff with Anton and the other guys, and she just put this together. It's not the biggest place, not the grandest, but as you can tell, we had a lot of fun playing. So I couldn't give a shit. I mean, the Stones play big ones. That's fun. Little ones can be fun too.
You're trying to take all the things that can make a good gig go bad out of the equation before you get there.
Keith's just cranking a twin on stage, a 57 twin or something,
Right. Which gets us in trouble.
Depending
with
upon
sound
what
guys.
era, right. Yeah,
Sound guys love us.
That's another reason we don't like to play small little rooms, Turn it down! I'm going to tell you right now, the sound guy said before we even hit the stage, you're way too loud. I'm like, dude, I was just tuning up. You haven't heard me turn on yet. I was on standby.
I just pretty much turn my amp on and go, okay, I'm ready.
My goal is to leave people feeling better than when they arrived and to leave them feeling fulfilled.
I just always hope that there's a good crowd there. I just, say a prayer that we get people to come and see us and that we have a good night and that I don't, pass out and die or something on stage. It's not exactly, not really how I want to go.
Our band is the house band of the Hamptons. I would say that too. I mean, we've opened up for phenomenal people, but we've worked really hard to get that reputation. People want a band that can open up for a great party. We've opened up for Elvis Costello. We've opened up for Toots and the Maytals. We've opened up for Jimmy Buffett.
I think it's the attitude of Toots, really. Because when we get up there every night, yes, we do have the songs, and yes, there is a pattern or some, a structure to it, right? There's still a lot of flexibility. If I hear something on any given night that is not how it was on the record, I'll just play that. And I could tell if he looks at me a certain kind of way, well, I'm not digging that, then I'll have to invent something else.
It's just so beautiful to have this synergy and chemistry with a group of people where you can, play your instruments and get the crowd involved, get people moving, and you get into a zone, and it's like a meditation, and you're nowhere else but here and now when you're in that moment,
I always say to him, I said, people aren't coming to see Mike Rubino or Bernie play guitar. They want to see Keith, They want to stand there and compare, and the closer you can get to what they're doing. And people walk out and go, that was great, man. When somebody comes up to me and says, hey, man, that sympathy lead was from Yayas. That was awesome. That's what I take real, pride in that because I worked on it.
I don't know about coolest, but I've played a lot of shady places.
A lot of dirtiness when you're setting up. There's a You always find like a French fry on the floor.
Lost a lot of dates learning how to play an open G.
I never realized how ridiculous that sounds until now.
Yeah, we are a little mental.
Yeah,
we're a little mental.
Thousands of people have come to see us play, and we've never crossed over into the next level of like a big touring. We did open for Bruce Springsteen once at Giant Stadium, and that was huge.
You do have to like what you're doing, let's face it. You know, you can't look at the negative when you get somewhere and go, oh, great, these people are eating lobster in front of me, it stinks. Yeah.
We're called the Rusty Pole Band, and we're very proud of what we're doing, and we just want to put out the legacy for Dad, and we all love music, and that's our passion, all of us, is just to go out and perform and have everybody enjoy.
You know, we're bringing probably 12, 13 guitars to the stage every night, because if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right.
Which leads me to the question, why do we even bother writing set lists? Because it never goes that way.
Because
Ever.
I have to if I just looked into the sky, I wouldn't be able to see the songs. But when I see them, I can think, do I want to go there? No, I don't want to go there.
No, I know. It's a reference.
But the funny thing is, why do I change them? It's like I'm going to pretend to use them. I don't know.
You write out the whole night.
I know.
And then supplementals possibly at the end, and there's directions and arrows and all these things.
That's
then
for
you
me,
Xerox
though.
them,
That's not for you.
and I put it down there, and I'm looking at it, and I tune up, and I'm like, she's not doing it.
I never followed a set list.
She's not doing that?
In my life. Even when we were recording an album, I still didn't follow the set list. But that is because I'm leading the masses. And I'm a conduit to the masses. Between you and your beautiful guitar and the masses is me.
That's right.
Going like, where do they want to go?
You're
They
the
want to go
conduit.
here.
You're the
So I am
lightning
the
rod.
conduit.
The lightning rod.
The joy of being a performer is that people are watching and they're sharing in the joy you have for your music.
If you're part of being around a band and around a scene, you know, it can really be a great thing.
Of course, we started as interpreters. We started as musicians playing other people's compositions. It's even more interesting to play your own stuff, to develop your own thing and put the work and the time you have into your own ideas and develop own ideas and not just repeating what other people thought.
I just always loved writing songs. I write too many songs. I don't even know my songs. You know, if you asked me to play a song right now, I would have to sit and learn it, maybe have the lyrics in front of me, because I write the song, I complete it, record it, and that's it, I'm done.
It's so much easier to play your own stuff. But as easy as it is, it's much harder to get paid to do it.
Try writing a song. Try writing a great song with a great hook that people like. You know, the average guy with 3 chords can put swinging a hammer on a carpenter job can dig, but you can run out of ideas pretty quickly.
I've probably written about 400 songs. I don't know exactly. I haven't done the final tally recently.
I try to write a tune every day. Not that I actually pull it off where the tune is any good or memorable or I even want to end up playing it, but I just try to do that.
If I had the option, I would only play originals. But I don't. So anytime I can get away with it, I will. And I'll also encourage every band I'm in to push the original end of things, you know? I mean, much as I love playing all the songs we all, love, but that's really what it's all about.
The whole creative process for me is a very fulfilling, very therapeutic. It's a wonderful thing, you know, to sit with a guitar and just go. Oh, there's a song.
You know, some of my songs are very kind of jazzy.
Well, there are songs that you write and there are songs that you keep. And then there's songs you play out. And all 3 of those are different numbers. But I'm lucky if I get like a couple of keepers every year. Some years I only get 1.
And then there's people that don't write any songs, like us.
Right. Ride on other people's coattails.
Other songs are very kind of acoustic ska reggae.
know that Van Halen riff? I go, yeah. I want to learn that note for note. I said, well, that's cool. Why would you want to do that? Because he did it, and he already did it better than you're going to do it. So why don't you just, if you want to hear it, put on a Van Halen record and listen, you know? So I want to make a pizza tonight, but I want it to be exactly like a Domino's pie. They could just call them; they'll deliver it for like $6, you know. So I think being original as you can, to tap into something that's deep down, and to bring that out in your music, and to have someone listen to it and go, wow, this is really fresh and new. I've never really heard anything like this before. I think that's very rewarding.
I always think about when Hendrix did Watchtower. The only way you're going to do a good cover is if you do it better than the band. Everybody knows that.
I like to be by myself where I know nobody can hear me. That's kind of important. Like I'll go down to the beach or something, or, you know, in the house when no one's around, or in the studio. And for some reason that just sets me free to get out and just be completely by myself. I can just express and sing as loud as I want. I could sound like crap. I can like try out stupid ideas. You know, sometimes songs start out as a joke. Like I have this one song, Silence Meets the Sky, that people are like, how did you write that? And I'm like, I don't know. It started as a joke, you know? It was like, you don't even know how much I cried. You don't even know how hard I tried. You don't even know how much I cried. You don't even know how hard I tried. When I was just a child, I would disappear into the woods for a while. You'll find me screaming up to the sky. What can I do for you to work through me? What can I be for me to be feeling whole?
No discipline. It's a reggae band, a reggae rock, pop type of a original and covers, you know, in order to play like in a lot of situations, clubs and things like that. We had to do covers of certain, you know, like a Bob Marley and things like that. But as far as our original act goes, we have a lot of original albums. We've done probably about, I think it's up around 12 original CDs, albums.
As you start playing music, you play other people's songs, of course, because how could you can't just start your own, writing your own songs. Of course, people do that even. Only play their own songs and don't even play others. Like I spoke to Chris Martin one time on the beach, and he was like, I started writing songs because I couldn't play other people's songs. That is a really good reason to play your own original music, I thought.
For me, I usually think of a melody, and I usually have like a melody and the chord progressions written first, and then the hardest part is writing words. Sometimes, you know, you run out of "The sky is blue and I love you," you know, and then you don't sometimes want to go. I don't know. Sometimes I have like little debates with people that. You know, the lyrics are maybe not deep enough, but then I start to, you know, ramble off some of the most famous songs, and they are like "Sky is blue" and "I love you." You know, not everybody writes like a real in-depth, you know, lyrics that, and if there are songs that are like that, I honestly can't even tell you what they're about.
Oh, yeah, mama. Oh, yeah, mama.
If you really want to be a musician, you have to write your own music because it's a part of the whole deal.
Personally, writing reggae music, most of my songs don't always start off as reggae. They maybe just start off as like a folk song or a Bob Dylan song, and then after I write it with like an acoustic guitar, then I'll dampen it instead of just being like. Then all of a sudden it takes on the new like.
To me, lyrics are very important because that's the message that's going to come through if someone were to actually listen. I know that, you know, in performance, it's a lot about the music and the vibe and how it makes you feel. You might be singing about something awful, but it makes you feel good.
Or if I hear a really cool couple of words strung together, you know, like Sound of the West, or I Won't Be There, or just, you know, Fool Like That, just whatever, and you just go like, oh, those words sound cool together, they're musical, they have like a hook, and I usually like just write them down, you know, so I have all these like, have these little pieces of paper that say like this, you know, this little phrase, this little phrase, this little phrase, and I just like shuffle through them and go, oh, that's cool.
For my writing style, I would say I'll get ideas with my voice, which is a melody, then I bring it to the guitar and find the rhythmic place, and now I have this great musical chorus verse structure, and then what do I want to say? Lyrics are the hardest part, because I think what makes a great song is when the music and the melody and the rhythm build and those lyrics soar in and just, and it's just this beautiful, beautiful merging of message and music and melody that just takes you for a ride.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do with doing very little.
You can get in the studio and you can layer a million tracks and polish a turd, you know, kind of like take a song that's just okay and make it sound really great with all the layers and the bells and the whistles and the fancy stuff. But when you can actually just play a song on an acoustic guitar and it sounds interesting and it commands your attention, that's really that's when you know you have a good song.
My only hit was actually a burger commercial, you know, it was awesome. So, you know, French fries, hamburgers.
Let's make it a late night, a Wendy's late night. Let's make it a late night, a Wendy's late night.
That was me. So I wound up writing it, producing it, recording it, playing every instrument, and sang it at like, I don't know, 5 o'clock in the morning. Next thing I know, I hear it on the radio. And these checks start coming in for the producer, the singer, the performer, the writer. And I was like, that's it. This is it. This is my whole life has changed. Well, that didn't happen.
So things like that, which are kind of uncommon ways of playing and I think very easy listening or very, very popular. I come from the classical music scene, but I kind of developed my own way of playing in producing different techniques, in producing different sounds, most of them acoustically, some of them electronically, of course. But for me, it's rather to find my own way in this and doing unfamiliar things. Together with Barbara, we developed a project that we call Traditional Alpine Music from the 22nd century. And this is, of course, it's kind of a joke, because we thought the things we do, which are kind of experimental, they're also song-like things, but in comparison to the traditional instruments we use, they are uncommon. And so we thought perhaps in 300 years people might think this could have been traditional 200 years ago. So there comes the idea with the next century.
John's my musical husband. That's how I define him. He is, we have a really rare, lovely, special relationship musically. And as a songwriter, I think it's amazing that you can bring a child a song that you've, for me, I take a very long time to write my songs. So for me to bring a song to him that maybe I've worked 6 months on, and to not even wonder if he's going to get it, he just gets it every time. It's a real gift. And then he adds his own flavor to it and his own style, and makes it, and it's no longer just mine, it's ours.
If you put 20 guitars on the floor and you picked up one, every one you pick up, you're going to play different and it's going to sound different. And if you really listen, all those guitars have songs in them, but they're going to be different. They're not going to be the same. And so it's a cool thing to do. Just put a bunch of guitars on the floor and just start playing them. And then when you pick them up, you know, who knows when like the light's going to go on, but you're definitely going to find them. And every guitar's got a pile of songs in them. You just got to find it.
I write from the lyric, which is not a lot of times, you know, as from a business standpoint, everyone's like, you know.
I write from groove, from
everybody,
drum.
yeah, you know.
I don't even think of the lyric. The lyric is something, oh, I have to do that now? I have to write
know.
lyrics? And you write beautiful lyrics.
I really love it, but that's where I get off on it. So I don't have to write for Joe Schmo.
I got a good idea. Why don't I write a good groove and you write a good lyric and we can start a band?
Hey! I gotta bite the bullet, get out of second gear, turn off my television, grab the wheel and start to steer. It was a hazy day, but it's beginning to clear, 'cause it's take you to leave it, baby, and that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Gonna wake up tomorrow and do something that I've never done, knowing full well that someone is watching over me. I got a brown wool carpet, it just won't leave my toes, but the money in my pocket, well, it always comes and always goes. There are circumstances beyond my control, but you can bring them on, baby, 'cause I'm back to being built to take. Wake up tomorrow and do something that I've never done, knowing full well that someone is watching over me. There are no perfect words that you can say to me now, 'cause this is no perfect word without you. Life is short, it's been said time and again. It's been a year of second chances. It's been a year saying goodbye to some good friends, and I never saw the wrecking ball waiting to descend. The man who hit me, he split me, and next time he may miss me, but he'll surely swing again. So you gotta just wake up tomorrow and do something that you've never done, knowing full well that someone is watching over you.
what you know.
From the quietest pianissimo to the strongest fortissimo, you have to be able to hear those nuances. And that's what it draws me to it. Aside from just the beauty of the form, the beauty of the woods, the combinations of the woods that you can get. And so as a builder, dreaming about what that guitar will look like as I go to the wood stack, and the color combinations of purfling and binding, matching with the top and the back, all the way down to the head, the tuners, the decorative elements, all of those aesthetic elements that, while they don't contribute to the sound, they do have a way of inspiring a player to play hopefully at their best and be really comfortable and satisfied with the guitar that they're playing.
You know, there's a lot of guitar builders out there, and it's really difficult to make a guitar that's perfect. Like a Fender guitar, you know, this is a Tele. This shape's been around since 1948 or 9, and it hasn't changed a bit. I mean, this paisley finish is just, you know, from the late 60s, but the body shape, the neck, he just hit it right on the head. It's just like a timeless design that everyone copies. Same with the Stratocaster. There's one from '82. It's just, you know, this came out in '54, hasn't changed a bit. It's timeless and it's great. Now, D'Angelico, you know, came out with was first making Gibson copies, and then he Art Decoed it up, and he added his own splash to it. His tailpiece is just a gorgeous, you know, design. Pickguard, it's all new. He figured all that out. Of course, this body, similar to his, but it's a Gretsch. But all these little touches that are just kind of, you know, been the paradigm of archtop design since the 40s.
I started building guitars in my free time in 1999 when I was a research scientist. So I'm trained as a biochemist, and what got me really interested in building guitars was because my training as a scientist is to look at molecular structure and ask how it relates to function.
Hearing someone build it right and the right combination, there's so many variables, you know, in a guitar. There's like, you know, how thick the top is, how aged the wood is, what's the back and sides made out of. The whole thing vibrates. So you gotta, you know, that's why like maple neck and rosewood neck Fenders sound different. The mass determines the sound on the atomic level. There's every little thing that, you know, affects the tone.
Well, the guitars are all hand built from scratch, from raw pieces of wood. And so I build 8 to 10 every year. And those are on a custom basis for clients that are either really avid amateurs or professional concert guitarists. Building guitars was really derived out of my love for playing the instrument and being around instruments and looking at pictures of instruments. And so I mainly stick to classical guitars because it's such a different instrument than even a steel string guitar. And so if you really want to be proficient at building a classical guitar, you need to stay within some of the same designs of that tradition and keep trying to optimize it. And it's really a lifelong pursuit. What players tell me about my guitars is that they have a lot of focus to the sound, they have very good projection, and they also have a lot of clarity that can cut to the back of the concert hall. And another thing that they have is a lot of tonal colors so that the player can express themselves with a variety of different interesting tonal shadings. So a classical guitar is really judged not on its positive merits, but usually on what demerits it has, the weaknesses. And so if you can limit those weaknesses, that's what you consider a really good guitar that can be an expressive tool for the player.
So this guitar is sort of a Frankenstein, but Dr. Frankenstein happened to be John D'Angelico, who was the preeminent archtop builder of our time. At least he was the father of it all. And he had a customer whose guitar I bought in Rhode Island, and I saw this case, and it was in a Gretsch case. I said, "Hey, what's that?" And it was a white falcon that he had given to John D'Angelico to tone down. He couldn't handle the white, flashy falcon finish, and he couldn't handle the sparkle binding. So John said, "Oh, I'll fix it up for you." So not only did he refinish it, but he put his own neck on it, he put his tailpiece, his pick guard, his fingerboard, the whole neck, and he did it for him in a month. And so it's a really good blend of like the best of Gretsch and the best of D'Angelico, and it's probably the best electric D'Angelico out there. And it was a gas to be able to get it.
We'll take an old Music Man or an old Fender or an old Trainer, we'll gut it, we'll put a new control panel on it, put a new circuit board in it, and give it modern channel switching and reverb and tones it wasn't capable of when it was built 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And that's how I kind of evolved into it. Eventually, you know, by the time my knuckles were bleeding and my hands got cut up from cutting holes in chassis and you know, punching and drilling and all of the work, my wife said, you know, wouldn't it be easier just to get a chassis made and build your own amp? But I always felt as a player, I've done some of my best design work with a guitar in my lap and an amp on my workbench because I'm playing it. No, that's not right. Change it, solder something else in, adjust something else. And that to me has been an important part of what allowed me to do this, I think, as well as I do. You know, it's like I'll hit the string and I'll say, okay, I need more bass, I need less bass, I need it to be a tighter bass, I need it to be a looser bass, I need a little more sparkle on the high end, I need a little more fatness in the mid-range. And I've kind of got to the point where, you know, mentally if someone says I need more of this, I kind of sort of lock into, oh, almost like a chef when someone says, you know, could you get me a little more of this, you know, essence of whatever, and someone says, oh yeah, that's paprika. You know, I mean, I interpret that in an electronic way, changing the value of a cap or the voltage that a tube is operating on or the kind of circuit that produces a certain sound, you know, a certain Marshall-y kind of a tone or a Fender-y kind of tone or a boogie type of a tone. They all come from, there's certain characteristics that give you a certain tone in an amplifier, and you know you need the knowledge to know, you know, which topology you're going to do for a customer's needs. So again, what's nice is we're still basically at conversation volume, yet I've got the sound of an amp that's begging for mercy.
This is a Bacon and Day, and they're kind of hidden little gems. The people that know about them really dig them. We just sold a fancy one to a well-known rocker. A lot of people come in and they'll say, you know, I really could have ordered this online, but I want to support a local business.
The Doyle guitar is a crazy, it's a crazy contraption. I was in the movie theater one night waiting for the movie to begin, and I had a business card. And I drew this picture of this guitar. And I said, wow, that's cool, I'm gonna have that built. So I went to Tommy Doyle the next day and gave him this little business card with this crazy guitar in it, which is exactly this shape. Tommy laughed. He said, well, I'll have to draw it up to scale and see what happens.
I designed all the guitars to be perfect for recording, and I try to bring that sound into a club, which is the hardest thing in the world, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But clean. You got bottom end, but it's got highs and it's got mid-range. So if I play, I can sweeten that, you know. So I can do all that.
Tommy is very meticulous in doing things as close as he could possibly do to like Dad does. He's been following him for many, many years, even prior before working with him.
It's a cool piece, and it's one of the craziest guitars he ever made, and it's, you know, he actually painted it with one coat of black paint to bring to the NAMM show. We were gonna repaint it and just never did. I kind of just liked how it wore through like that. But it's a, again, mahogany neck, ebony fretboard, which is the only guitar I have with an ebony fretboard, block inlays, and that's his Doyle logo, and that's my initials.
Maybe the only thing that has no function is a tradition of putting a decorative rosette around the sound hole. And the tradition is typically to have colored pieces of wood in many different configurations to adorn the sound hole. And in my case, it's all natural wood that's been dyed and inlaid about 1 millimeter deep into the face of the soundboard, and then it's leveled and finished. In my case, this rosette is a signature rosette for me because the inside of the rosette is emblematic of a DNA double helix, which is an homage to my previous career.
It was a really cool process having a guitar custom made, especially by a talented luthier like Tommy, as I would go and put the neck in my hand and he'd take off a little more and just, you know, it's really exactly what I wanted at the time. I was a kid, you know. I thought this, but people used to come up to me, guys in the bar. We used to play like 7 nights a week back then, and they'd be standing there like this going, what'd you do to that Les Paul? You're a jerk. It's not a Les Paul. How could you think this is a Les Paul, right?
What drives a lot of guitar builders, not only personally to stretch themselves in the workshop, but to see what the guitars can do in the hands of the real virtuosos of the day. And that's my goal within the next 5 years, to have one of these guitars in the hands of one of the top guitarists in the world.
Yes, not did. Not did, I still do. I'm still a complete idiot. You know, what are you gonna do? You know, I'm 51. It's probably not likely that there are too many people that are 51 that are gonna get famous, because most of these guys that are like rock legends had a deal when they were 20 years old.
So I didn't really have a rock star thing, but I knew that I could at least make money and pay my rent, which was basically good. If anything happened after that, if we got, because back then it was really tough to record because it was real expensive, because it was still on tape and everything, and you had to make a record. You couldn't just make, you know, you could make cassettes, but that was a cheap level. You know, you had to actually make a record, and to be the guy on the record that's big, you know, like it's bigger than your head, you know, like when you go to a concert and that's the guy on the album. That's a big deal.
I never looked at it like from the rock star like point of view. Like it wasn't like I wanted to be a rock star, nor do I still now want to be a rock star. I love the guitar. I was obsessed with learning it and trying to get better. It was more of just like a personal thing of wanting to get better and be able to do all the things that I was hearing my favorite players do, and then also try to also do things that I was creating on my own.
I don't have to be, you know, playing Giant Stadium. Or, you know, I can just be in a bar or at the bus station. I don't really care. And other people really have that whole, you know, illusions of grandeur deal where they're gonna be, you know, they're gonna be Keith Richards and, you know, Mick Jagger, and that's their goal. It's not about the music. And so I've had to like quit bands that I was in because I was like, dude, I'm not going there. You know, I'm not gonna do that.
If I can do this 24/7 until I'm an old man, knock on neck, that's rock stardom for me, you know. But a few more shekels in the bank, you know, that wouldn't be bad. No, I'm not a rock star.
You are a rock star.
Yeah, that's our dream. To have as many people in the world hear our music. I mean, I always say we're pretty famous, but not very rich.
Fame and fortune is probably a wonderful thing to have. I could sure use it, but it's not what it's about.
There was never any time that I envisioned myself on the stage of the Garden. You know, I mean, ironically, I ended up standing on the stage of the Garden, like, you know, plugging in gear for somebody.
I think early in my career, I wrestled with the rock star thing. The expectations, the disappointments, and I fought with myself a lot.
I think from the first time I played a song horribly, and probably people applauded, I was, you know, you get bitten with that. It's definitely something that you get a taste of and you want more.
I think the people that really lit my fire, so to speak, were huge rock stars. Hendrix was probably the major one because he did something that I think no other guitarist did before him, and that he transcended the limitations, the known limitations of the instrument back then, and things that were probably considered undesirable, he made them musical.
At one point, decided to tap into the passion and the love I had for music and just to go with that. And to trust that that would lead me where I needed to be.
I'm comfortable with it being a hobby, you know.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, it makes it easier to...
There was a point in my life where I had that dream, but, you know, yeah, obviously it would have been the best thing, would have been the greatest, but I'd probably be dead by now.
I'm gonna get famous though, still.
With it together. And then there's then there. You know? But that's just gotta swing. I forgot how we got into that the last time, but yeah. So we're gonna put that in there. We gotta get that in there. I knew it was a far reach to be rich at it and have limos and, you know, airplanes and that was very far off. You know, like that wasn't really the dream. But the dream was to have people not leave while we were playing, you know, and to get to do the thing for money, you know, and not landscape.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and give a very warm welcome to Michael Powers Frequency.
I've been playing here, it's about 22 years now. Every Friday, every Monday. And if I have a special show, it's during the week.
People say, well, you do that on the side? I'm like, no, it's right in front.
I never thought about it being a career. I thought that, I didn't even really think, you know, I just had to have it with me. It was, you know, it was an addiction, you know, it really was. It was like, you know, whenever there was somebody practicing, I'd have to be there.
You get a band together and you're doing things, you're making money, you're having a job, you know, and feeding people for this feeling you had to just play this one song once a long time ago.
What I did a long time ago was go basically, screw the money, I'm just gonna do what I wanna do, which is play guitar. And then whatever I gotta do else to make enough money so that I can play guitar, that's the way I'm gonna work it.
No, we lose money.
every gig. We lose money every gig.
So I could sit here and say I'm making a living as a musician because I've made choices that make it work.
Come on, man, we can make a lot of money. I'm like, dude, I don't want the, you don't know what goes along with the money, you know? There's strings attached. It's not like it's just someone's gonna give you a bag of dough and you get to do what you want with it. It's not how it works. There's a lot of strings attached. So if you like playing music and you like what you're playing, just be happy doing that, because when someone else starts coming in and producing you and you owe them money, they're gonna be telling you what to do.
The whole point is that things work out and I'm doing okay. From day to day, yeah, I'm doing okay. From day to day.
And I recently got royalty checks in the mail, woohoo! Which is so much fun. And I saw downloads from Japan and Norway and Australia, and I'm thinking, how are these people finding me? And it's exciting, you know? Like, that's why I always say, let it go and see where whoever's meant to find you will find you. So now I'm officially an international recording artist, and I'm getting royalty checks in the mail from places that I haven't even performed live at, which, I mean, I couldn't have dreamed a dream that big for myself.
Let life pass you by, if only for a little while. Reach out, help yourself to a smile. Hey, life ain't that bad.
One day I just closed the filing cabinet, one time too many, and I said, what the heck am I doing here? And I quit the job and said, I'm gonna go do this music thing full time.
Bring your fences down, open up those doors, let the wife in, let it free your soul.
I was doing my homework one time and I'm like saying, you know, I'm really gonna try, you know, I'm gonna put my all into this homework because, you know, I'm not gonna, what am I gonna do, play the guitar all the time? And I'm in like 4th grade or something. Me and my brother are both sitting there doing our homework in our room. We shared a room and our desks faced the opposite way. So my back was to him and the guitar was sitting here. And we must have been messing around with it and tightened up one of the strings too much or something. And the string just broke on its own. As I'm thinking this in my head, I'm thinking, you know, I really gotta learn how to write, you know, neatly, and I'm gonna be some kind of thing in an office, you know. And the guitar goes, bang, and it's like trying to tell me, no, I don't think so. I think this is what you'll do, you know. I think you better change that train of thought right now. The guitar string broke, you know, just broke out of the blue, and me and him just were hysterical.
Unless you get famous, like real famous, like Bruce Springsteen famous or Bob Marley famous, you're going to have to struggle. You know, you're not always going to have a show, or there's going to be times at the end of the night you don't get paid what you thought you were going to get paid.
It was sort of a weird thought, because why would you have to give up something to get what you want? And ultimately, you're living what you want. But I had that thought that whatever it takes to do more of this or more of what I love, I'm going to do that. It's the biggest commitment I've ever made, is to music.
Made a huge decision, and that was not to pursue higher education, which my parents like almost took my head off for. And I joined a band, started touring in northern Canada, doing all the blues circuits, but I have no regrets because I've been around the world several times, and I basically lived my dreams.
By the time I was like 21, 22, got a record deal and hit the road, and I've been doing that for the last like 11 years, 10 years now. So real grateful, fortunate.
Everybody I met was like, keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, man. Like everybody was so encouraging and positive and just always gave a very positive yes. Music is my life. This is what I'm doing.
Thank God, because I've never was good at working a real job. I had to, but it's been a long time and I don't want to ever have to go back to it. So that motivates me to keep practicing too.
Like now, I meet people who used to play when I was learning to play. Like these are guys who showed me how to hold like a D chord or something, you know? And I meet them so many years later and they're like, you're still playing? I'm like, you're still gigging? You're still hanging out at, you know, doing these things? Yep, still doing it.
You're gonna have to do other things with music, like teach lessons. You may not like to do that. You're like, okay, Bobby, ready for that C chord? Okay, let's hear it. It's like, you know.
I couldn't love my job more. I teach kindergarten through 5th grade music, and it's really a lot of fun, a lot of energy, and to see people embark on that musical journey at such a young age it's really great.
My thing is blues. I love blues, and blues is, to me, is more than just a music. You know, it's like a good man feeling bad, you know, and it's a way of life. It's not like pop music where you work it out. You know, blues it happens right there on the spot, you know, and it really moves people.
Look around you, help yourself to a friend. Hey, life ain't that bad. Hey, life ain't that bad.
This is one crazy story. This dude came in here, and I didn't even know he was here. You know, we're playing, and the night's over. We're packing the stuff up, and they're telling this guy, he's sitting in a corner, like by himself all night, not bothering nobody. And they're telling him, okay, it's time to go, last call. And he just says, he just wants to say one word to me. He comes up and I says, hey man, thanks for listening to the music and stuff. He says, no man, it's more than that. You know, you saved my life tonight. I was on my way to commit suicide. And I was walking past the club and I heard the sound of the guitar, and that's what brought me in here. So to me, that makes it something that I can't even explain.
It's almost like religion or something, some people go to church and stuff. This is what we do, That's definitely one way to see it. Once you get past the business of it's no longer glamorous when you're playing the local dive at 2 in the morning for the local drunks, So there better be some other reason why you're there. It's definitely not the money, I'll tell you that much, So yeah, there's something to it, and I wish I could describe that better. I'll figure it out though one day, but I still haven't. But I know it's a lifetime thing.
As I've gotten older, I've gotten to the point where it isn't so much about anything panning out. We played tonight and it panned out. What panned out is that we made great music together.
There's just so many things that can be done with the guitar. It's the possibilities are infinite. So I never really tire of it.
The universal appeal that the minute someone starts to play, catches your ear, and people want to gather around and enjoy this thing that really just I feel like it brings us together in a community and makes people want to move and sing and express themselves.
It's easy to get good enough to play a song, but then it's really difficult to get really good at it.
These old boots of mine have had too many scratches. They've been worn everywhere from Montauk to Memphis.
musical instrument is a nice way to spend time with yourself and to, it's like a meditation really, I find. I think it's great. I think everybody should play an instrument.
You're only as good as your worst play. That's how good you are. Nobody's interested in flashes of brilliance. I'm more interested in what do you sound like when you suck the most, because that's what I can count on. So if I'm hiring somebody, I don't want to hear his fancy licks. I want to know how bad he plays, because I know he's not going to sink lower than that, and I know what I can lean on.
This is my baby. She's never gonna yell at me. She's never gonna fight with me. I can play her anytime I want. You know, she's always gonna be there for me.
It's fun to listen to, it's fun to play, and you know, it's rock and roll. It feels good.
It's a lifetime thing. It's not, you're never ever going to be good enough.
If you're hooked, you're hooked. So, I'm hooked.
Thank you.
Rise, wild child, step on. Rise, wild child, rise alive forever. Don't get down, come around, yeah, faster. Let the net go, never let the net master you. Don't let the net get the best of you. 'Cause if you do, you'll end up messed up too. Don't let the net get the best of you. 'Cause if you do, you'll end up messed up. Now listen, there's a discipline, it's gotta come from within. Firm and strong, it's burning long through all your days of wishing. Assailing dreams and failing seems to drop us all to sinking. But never mind, the clever signs are backwards if you're thinking. You better start thinking backwards too. You gotta match the world's attitude. You better start thinking backwards too. Gotta match the world's attitude, making Friday high day, weekend strong beginning. Saturday a better day to recover wrong and sinning. Sunday the one day belonging and be winning.